I came from less than nothing, and I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and I was in the third grade 3 times because Ginger Marie Curtis could not learn how to read, and I was the least likely person to succeed. The number one thing that we hear when people pick up the phone and call us is, "You are different. Every image draws you in. Every home tells a story."
This is the Rock Solid Podcast. Today, we have Ginger Curtis, founder of Urbanology Designs, on building a national luxury design firm from absolutely nothing.
Hi, Ginger. How are you today?
I'm good.
Good. Thanks for joining me today on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I'm a newbie at doing all this, so I appreciate you taking the time out today.
Yeah, of course. It's my pleasure.
And where do we find you located today?
North Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Okay,
Well,
well,
I imagine it's a little nicer there than it is here because I look out my window here and it's snowing and it shouldn't be snowing.
yeah, it was 94 yesterday, so it is bright and sunny in Texas.
Well, that I can't. I don't remember the last time I saw the sun here. It's been horrible from that perspective. But I did a little bit of reading up on you, and you've got quite the backstory. You've built a wonderful business for yourself, and more importantly, a wonderful life, wonderful family. I mean, it's you have a unique story, to say the least. I can't actually wait to come down to your studio because I actually quite like Dallas Fort Worth. And I used to do work down there in one of my other businesses before in a related industry to you. When I actually owned a kitchen cabinet company, we used to do quite a bit of work down in the Dallas Fort Worth area with one of our dealers there. So um, uh, some great design being done down there, and I've always really super appreciated people that can do it because I can't. So I'm not. That's not my forte. So maybe tell us about your business today and where you're at and where you're going.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Let's see. About a decade, a little over a decade ago, I founded Urbanology Designs. Again, we're based here in Dallas Fort Worth, but we actually have more projects out of state than in state, just kind of coast to coast, from San Diego to North Carolina, all the way up to Nebraska, Cincinnati, Big Sky, Montana, just
Wow.
Tahoe area. Yeah, so we have a lot of national projects, which was very intentional. About 3, 4 years ago, we kind of made the shift to move past the four walls of Texas, so to speak, and that was a great move.
And why was that? Why did you
Um,
feel the need to do that?
because Texas has we kind of stand out here, which is great. It's
Yeah.
great. We're easy to find because our design aesthetic is not sort of like the Texas traditional that's very pervasive in our area. And we were
Okay.
just finding a lot of people were seeking us out from the East Coast and the West Coast, who
Interesting.
were moving to Texas, like help us kind of thing.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
then we saw people who were living in those areas on the East Coast and the West Coast and kind of throughout the country who were reaching out, wondering if we could help them. And so we just started being more intentional
Okay.
about kind of showcasing out of state work. Hmm.
Gotcha. Well, design's everything, right? I mean, it just, you can't understate the importance of great design, right? I mean, I've looked at a bunch of your work and I'm like, it's wonderful. I mean, you do great work, right? So I can appreciate how, um, getting a wider audience would be pretty easy for you.
Yeah, it's been really fun. It's funny, we were talking about this morning at our leadership team meeting, just the evolution of our firm. And we're a mid-sized firm. We focus on high-end luxury residential and hospitality projects. We do
Oh, yeah.
both.
Okay.
Commercial projects, yep. And just the evolution of kind of where we've started, but not even just, I mean, everybody has that story. Oh, I started here and then we look
Sure.
so different, we've grown. It's really more than that. It's year over year over year over year. It's these building blocks and these just, it's, I look back at projects even 3, 4 years ago and just the nature of the evolution. And I think that it's kind of what we demand for ourselves,
Right.
and
Right.
and not follow trends, but like, how do we sort of blaze the trails, right?
Gotcha.
And
And
it
you're
makes
talking
it,
about that from a design perspective or
you know,
your back end processes, how you do things,
good
all the
question.
above?
Good question. Definitely from the design perspective, but I would also say operationally on how we run a business,
Sure.
especially in the world of interior design. I think what the way we run our company is very unique. I don't see a lot of designers that model their businesses the way that we do, and I think it's helped us to grow, scale. I think it's helped us to take risks and do some things that are really special. So both, I would say.
Huh, interesting. And when you think about that, how do you think that impacts your clients? Do you think they get it that you're making these sort of subtle moves over time?
The number one thing that we hear when people pick up the phone and call us is you are different. Every time, like, I see so much of oversaturation, rinse, copy, repeat, a lot of
Right.
mass America kinda design, and then we look at Urbanology's portfolio and your work, and every image draws you in, every story, every home tells a story, and
Yeah.
people commenting on something that they're noticing, and it's that there's this narrative that somehow feels very, very personal, and they know that we had to dig in to understand who that homeowner was because the home just feels too personal to just come up with
Yeah,
that
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Right.
uh, we do get that comment, and then I think the part that people don't know to ask about, the portfolio is so visual, it becomes obvious, but then we really have to slow down and educate people on what happens on the back end. I
Right.
think people have no idea. It's like design, great design isn't sugar on the tongue. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of details and processes and things behind the scenes that are not that sexy or exciting that
Right.
absolutely equate to a successful project and a fantastic home.
Yeah, I mean, as you say that, uh, and not actually knowing your process, but what where my mind goes to that would be, is that you sort of really getting to know that homeowner and really understanding their story? Because I mean, I know that you're in our previous chat, you're very impacted by your own story. You know, I think probably you're more aware or more impacted by your own story. And I think my gut says, based on that conversation, is that you appreciate other people's stories and you want to help them tell their story through that design process. Is that a fair sort of read of the situation?
Spot on. Nailed it.
Okay. Okay. Right. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, that's who I sense who you are as a person, right?
Mhm.
And I think
I
that
it's
um
yeah.
that authenticity comes through. So people buy authenticity, right? So they're putting a lot of trust in you.
And you said it, the word is authenticity, and I feel really comfortable being authentic with myself, good, bad, great, what I'm good at, what I'm bad at, whatever those things are, I feel very
Sure.
comfortable in
Yep.
in those things and in being authentic, and I don't know how to be anything else, and I'm comfortable in that space, and I want people to feel the same way in their homes. I want them to feel like they can approach their own home with an authenticity, and sometimes it's pretty amazing. People, it's almost like you have to give them permission to
Yes.
be really fully who they are because there is so much oversaturation and sameness and following trends and the Pinterest and what's happening, and it's trying to tell them, hey, you
Right.
have permission to silence the noise and just kind of take a deep look at like who you are and
Yeah.
what brings you joy and meaning and happiness. And sometimes it's your uncle's artwork that was gifted and passed down to the family. It's kind of quirky and ugly, but it has a story and it's a little bit cool, and you know what, we're going to
Yeah.
make it. And it's embracing the things about your family, about your history, about your home. Does your home have a story to tell? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we have to
Right.
create a story, right? And the only way you can really do that and honor a family and a home is to get to know them and what makes
Sure.
them tick. And that is a tall order, I will tell you, because some people like to hold their cards very, very close.
Right.
And I feel like it's a lot of dinners and really getting to know people. I love to get them out of their environment, right? Like go to
Right.
dinner, have a nice glass of wine, break bread together, and get to hear more about their story and their nuances. How do they talk to each other? Like
Right.
where do you see them let their guard down? When do they just bubble up with excitement because they're telling a story? And then you're like,
Right.
no, 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 tell me more. And when we get the opportunity to do that, it's really when kind of the magic happens, and,
Sure.
force every one of my clients to have dinner with me because some people are just busy and they're just like, "Hey, I that sounds great. I don't have time, but, just show me what you got." And we
Right.
can do it,
Yeah, of
but,
course.
you
It's a
know
little bit more, maybe generic's not the right word, but unless you are able to create that connection, how do you really you're trying to do your best to represent who they are through design at the end of the
Yeah,
day, right? But that's exactly how you get back to what you were sort of saying, which is that cookie cutter. I mean, that is what that is, right? Whether it's the latest trend in the home magazine or this or that, or all these people that are investing in properties and just sort of create the generic landscape so that I can resell this thing, as opposed to no, 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 this is actually going to be my home,
yes,
and I want it to feel that way. I want it to feel comfortable. I want it to be who I am, right?
yeah,
But that takes
absolutely.
time and effort. You have to want to do that.
It does, and some you get such a mixed bag of people's backgrounds and their careers, their professions. Are they
Sure.
sort of ready, fire, aim? Are they very analytical? Are they Right, there's all these different drivers, that are and people's motivations are different, right? There's some core motivations. It's like we can all agree we wanna live in a beautiful space,
Of
but there's
course.
so many deep motivations that are very specific, and when we can kind of delve into that a little bit more, it's pretty fantastic when you get to the design presentation and they just lose it. They're like, "I never would have thought in a million years that
Right.
was it, or to do that thing, but somehow, like, it's beyond even what I knew I wanted for myself, and
Right.
gosh, that's
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
that's the
yeah,
that's the secret sauce right there.
yeah, yeah. You should see yourself right now.
It's fun
Yeah,
because
you're lighting up right now.
I'm imagining my clients' faces. It's very
Yeah.
special.
Well, that's what's driving you, right? I mean, clearly, like being able to deliver that level of satisfaction to somebody, and then they get to live that every day, right? So,
Yeah.
back to that whole origin story type of concept. When I bought this business, I definitely wanted to do things differently, and so there's so many people just go into work and they're just punching that clock and in and out, and it's just a job to make money. Um, you know, my personal approach was more about, you know, my job is to make sure that people are being successful, and when they leave at the end of the day, that they feel like they've made a contribution, and they're happy to do so. Like, we impact you spend a lot of time in your work, regardless of what it is. How do you find that satisfaction in that process? And there's so many sort of mundane administrative type jobs, or in our case as well, like working in the factory. People need to feel like they've been successful. If they don't walk home out of that door at the end of the day and they feel successful, that's that's not good in my books. We need to be more than that. We, as CEOs and leaders of the companies, we need to be more than that for our people, and creating that sense of community where you are at. And it's about where you are at now. I can only imagine the vibrancy in your office, because I can feel it coming off of you, that I imagine that your office is very um, eclectic and vibrant. Without ever being there, I would imagine that's sort of how it is. And so people appreciate that, and they appreciate the energy that you bring to that.
Well, and likewise, and I think that what you're talking about is culture and meaning, and if we're missing the mark on that, then what are we doing? We're kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right?
Right.
And that's something that you and I have in common because we've talked about that before, and it is so important to be in tune and in step and realize that in my opinion, the greatest job that we have on earth, our greatest responsibility is the people that we've been stewarded, that we were entrusted to steward, and it's our employees. It's
Yep.
never a thing. It's never a piece of hardware or a cabinet or a sofa or something. It's never
No.
the thing. It's always the people, the person. And there's just nothing, no problem, no situation can compare to there being a people problem, right? And
Right.
or there to being a success story, with the
Yeah.
people in your lives, and of course, that's the goal, and so I think that it's really important, but also really easy to lose sight of that,
Very
and
much so, right?
yeah, yeah,
So,
it's
I mean,
constant.
your team, I think people underestimate the impact of all the different things that are going on. We have about 100 employees, and you think through that group of people, all the different things that people are going through in their lives. And if you can treat that with the appropriate level of respect, then, they'll give it back to you tenfold. But so many places just don't actually, they just don't respect that fact that they do actually have lives outside. And how are you helping them to be successful in their life? Like, I see my job is to help others get better. If I'm not making somebody better in their work, and hopefully I'm imparting some lessons in life, as I learn every single day, then, you know I don't feel like I'm being successful as a leader. I take it on myself to help improve other people's lives in my own little way, right? Because if we're not doing that, then I don't know, that I guess you could say that's the creative side of my life. You do it more through design and the impact that you make through that, which is I totally, totally appreciate that. And I guess in my own little way, I try to do it just with their daily lives. Some of the jobs here probably aren't the most exciting, but it's about what you put into it. We talk about young people all the time, and everyone's like, "Oh, what are you going to do with your life?" and all the rest of it. Those are really tough questions. I mean, I have 3 children, between 29 and 25, and so, how do they develop their careers? And I was like, "Well, the first thing you do is worry about the next 90 days. The next 90 days should be the most important thing that you're worrying about, and whatever you're doing, do it really, really well."
Yeah.
Because it's right there in front of you. You can sit and start making longer term plans, that's fine. But unless you're taking care of this right now, you're not gonna get there. So, when people give you that opportunity, you just gotta take it and do the best you can with it, and just keep doing that over and over again, and good things happen, right?
Yeah. I
Which
I
is kinda
call
what you've done in design, right?
doing
With
the
your
little things.
clients.
Doing the
Yeah,
little thing. We have these big, massive, exciting, hairy goals, all the things, but I tell you what, like, back in the early days and the thing that's continued is hyper focusing on just the smallest of things and doing those small things well over and over, and we
right.
just count the impact of doing small things well, and that's something that I've also tried to teach my kids. Like, just
Yeah.
basic, like, kindness
Basic
and
stuff. Yeah.
just like, that should be pretty basic. Sadly, sometimes it always doesn't feel basic. It feels like a massive bone when you meet somebody who's kind, hardworking, and humble. I'm like, "Wow," like, I thought this was supposed to be the standard package, but it's not, and so my husband and I work hard to raise kids who work hard, who are really kind human beings,
Right.
and who are grateful, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Sandbox rules. We always say sandbox
yep,
rules, right? So
that's right.
you wouldn't think it'd be that hard, but it seems to be.
Yeah, yeah, the hiring culture is definitely changed. It's hard, like, I can't believe I'm saying, like, but for my generation, right? Because now I have employees who are younger than me, and I look my generation and how we were raised and latchkey kids, and it's like,
Yeah,
we just rode our bikes for miles, and there was no way to call our parents or a phone, or there was nothing. It's like we were
nothing.
gone all day, came back, as the sun was setting, wolfed down some food, and if you got a flat tire or you were thirsty or you fell over and scraped your elbow open, figure it out, right? You just
Right.
gotta figure it out, and we just don't live in a world anymore where our kids are really figuring it out. So it's funny. My husband and I joke all the time, like, how can we make our kids' lives hard? Like, how can we make their lives harder?
Yeah, exactly right.
So
Yeah,
they
yeah,
get
yeah.
a little bit of that figuring it out on their own and building that muscle.
I always have a story about my daughter, and if she ever listens to this, she'll get a laugh out of it. But when she was like in that sort of 14, 15, 16 age group, I would be like, she would ask me for permission to do something, and I got to the point where I actually wouldn't say yes or no anymore, and I'd just say it's your decision. And I like, this is what I would do, but it's your decision. And that would drive her crazy because she would want me to actually to give her that answer. And I'm like, I'm not going to give you the answer. This is my opinion, but you go ahead and do what you want to do. And that would sort of spin her a little bit because she really wanted to do it, but she knew it probably wasn't really the right thing. So now she's got this dilemma. And I think those decisions that kids make, that's where they build the grit. And I'm sure you've listened to Angela Duckworth's TED Talk on grit, and that's what it is. It's about all these kids building grit to get through. The other one is actually a fellow Texan there. Actually, I don't know if he's Texan or not, but what's his name again? He wrote The Obstacle Is the Way. Brilliant book.
Oh my
Ryan
gosh, I
Holiday.
love that book. I
Yeah.
love that book. One of my
So that
favorites.
Okay, there you go. Ryan Holiday. That's his name. Yeah. So brilliant book, and I actually give
Yes.
that book away, and because like to me, that's what life's about. It's about heading those obstacles right on. You're not going around it. You're not going over it. You're gonna go through it, and that's how you grow. That's how you get your bumps and scrapes and figure it out.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that. I'm gonna put that on my list and reread it. It has been about 3 years, and
Okay.
that is such a good read, and The Obstacle Is the Way. It
The
is.
obstacle
It's
is
so
the way. Yeah.
and when you learn to embrace that and you just realize, man, there are gold nuggets that are
Yeah.
going to be produced through this obstacle and the things that we're refining, the things that we're changing, the ways that we're getting lean, all that heartache and pain and suffering, man, it is producing something in us and in our culture and in our team that is irreplaceable without that obstacle, that pressure. And gosh,
Yeah.
I've seen it time and time again.
So many times, right? I mean, I like now I get to the point where, something will be happening. I'll be getting stressed about it, and I'll be just like, okay, just need to chill out a little bit. I know how to, I may not know the answer right now, but it will come. And it comes by just activating in the work. It will come. There's very few things that, you can't kind of figure out eventually. You just need to be patient with it and just keep driving forward. And I've proven to that to myself every single time. So some people will say about me, they don't understand how I can handle so much stress. And I'm like, well, it's because it's not. That's your perception of the level of stress. For me, it's not that stressful because I have the confidence that I know I'll get through it. But for you, because you don't have the muscle for whatever that is, it's incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
So, especially in business, like the ups and downs of business, right? I mean, it can get everybody glorifies it, but holy macro, it's tough sometimes.
Oh
Cer
gosh,
c Certainly the last 4 or 5 years have been incredibly difficult, and,
incredibly.
we're into another cycle again right now with oil prices going through the roof. So the impact on that all the way through our supply chains and our customers, I mean, it's just been one thing after another for the last 5 years. I think the last 5 years have probably been the most challenging of my life, and I've certainly seen a lot of different things happen when you go all the way back. I mean, it's been pretty crazy. So I know I'm a bit older than you are. So the generation, I'm not a boomer. I'm actually whatever it is before that, but that end of that boomer generation, they're the ones that actually made off a little bit like a bandit, and we're fighting for the scraps a little bit right now. So
Yeah.
that's what it feels like because it's hard. It's genuinely hard. So, but all you can do is keep doing the right thing, right? By your customers, by your employees, and just next 90 days, fight through the obstacles and
And be
figure it
willing to
out.
pivot, right? I think when
Yeah.
there's when there's a pivot, there's a dip. And I think we've got to remember to plan for the dip. It's like, okay, we know there's a pivot coming, but when that pivot happens, right, you're gonna have slowdowns, you're gonna have,
Yeah.
potential issues with cash flow. I mean, there's all these ways that that dip is gonna affect you. And I think it's like plan for the dip, plan for
Right.
be resourceful during that time. And I think we've seen some really wild, wild west type of situations the last couple years. And I think right now, kind of talking about challenges and the obstacle is the way, but we're hiring. I mean, we are looking for the top talent in the country, and that's
Sure.
we've learned what a tall order that is. And I just kind of even being reminded, like, as we're having this conversation of, man, it's tough and I do not like it. I am so far out of my comfort zone. My team is so far out of their comfort zone. And but when I slow down for just a moment, I realize the things and the areas and the processes and what we're doing to get more creative and to solve problems. Holy mackerel, this is gonna set us up for
Yeah.
so much success because we will hire, we will onboard, we will get that staffing, like,
Sure.
it's coming,
Yeah.
and so we're gonna benefit from all these little micro changes and things that we've been working on to help support ourselves during this really lean time, right?
Yeah.
And when I think about it, I'm like, "Wow, that next wave of growth for us because we're scaling, right?" And
Yeah.
that comes with challenges, and so it's
Absolutely.
not all in vain. It's all gonna, there's leave effect, but you're right. It's being a running a business, being an entrepreneur, it's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
No, 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 for sure. I mean, we pivoted a bit back. Well, I personally pivoted, and now the organization's actually starting to pivot on the whole AI front. I mean, I'm very technology invested personally, and I've probably spent since late November, early December. I'm in the range of sort of 5 to 600 hours personally working on AI for the company. And so we've actually spun up, and I started with this concept of AI and how do I put it into the workflow of my employees without them knowing how to use AI? Because the reality is people aren't going to learn, quote unquote, learn AI. Like the average person is not going to learn AI. They need to learn how to use it within the workflow of what they're doing. So, with that as the starting premise, we built out an AI governance model for the company. I'm well over 2,000 documents that I've created within actually Claude. And so now we've built out a wonderful system, a feedback system. Like there's just so many things I could go into, like getting signals from our sales team across the country, getting signals from all the functional leaders, and using AI actually to pull that back together to allow the company to self-improve. It's been a bit of a journey. I even thought about spinning up another company because it's a pretty unique model from an SMB perspective, because how do you really do it? Everybody can sit back and go, "Oh, well, I'll do a little piece here and a little piece there, and that'll make those little things more effective." But how do you actually create that new company for the future? That's where that is a different, I think, a bit of a different animal, and that's what we're trying to do. Um, because
That's what a
because
lot of people
that's what.
'cause it's
Sorry?
overwhelming. That's where
It's
people get
overwhelming.
it's overwhelming, and I
It
think
is.
the problem that we're seeing, Paul, is that there's this tool that so many businesses could benefit from and entrepreneurs, but as an entrepreneur and a business owner, we're already wearing 10,000 hats, right? We're
Exactly.
juggling that. Is marketing in-house? Is it out-house? Are we right? Like, are we doing
Yes.
running ads? Are we not running ads? And is it Google? Is it Instagram? Is it there's all these things, and do we do a quarterly newsletter? And there's just
Right.
and HR and PR and all the other R's. And then
All these hours.
you throw in OpenAI and you're like, and that
Exactly.
and so I sympathize with the business owners who are feeling overwhelmed. And I feel like the people who come along to support the businesses and business owners on this front of getting AI really integrated foundationally and
Yeah.
cr doing it in a way that's very simple, um,
Yep.
for the leaders and for the employees, like, that's the next wave and the next front and the next service model because we all need it, right?
Yes.
And you
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
are
yeah.
similar. I feel very comfortable in the AI space, and, like, we've used, the different open AI platforms and have created, what's it called? Skills and GPTs
Yeah.
and learning all of those things, but it's a lot of work and it's a lot of time.
It's a lot of work and it is a lot of time, a
You said what,
100%,
500
right?
hours? I mean, that's crazy. It's a
Yeah,
full-time
that's
job.
on top of everything else, right? So,
Yeah,
but, um, yeah, my
but
wife
there's
definitely
hope.
thinks I'm crazy.
There's hope. There's hope. So people that are listening to this, if you are not in AI and adopting it, this is your public service announcement
Yeah,
to
exactly.
start digging into it. And if you just don't have the bandwidth, like we need to encourage people to get support for somebody who can walk them through how to use AI and integrate it in their business.
Yeah, yeah, I sort of tell everybody, um, the impact is going to be so much more than they think. And everybody always says, "Oh, that's what they always say. That's what they always say." But I actually do think this time is different. Like this is on a whole other scale. So, um,
Gentlemen, it's here.
yeah, I almost get speechless when like you watch Peter Diamandis' Moonshot podcast, and it's just like it is incredible. And I've met Peter before, and it's incredible to see what these guys are talking about, once or twice a week, and where this whole thing is going, from every single level. The breakthroughs that are already happening in cancer and diabetes and like longevity, and David Sinclair and Harvard, and like it's insane what's happening. And you will definitely be impacted by it from your longevity. I think I will be as well. And what does that mean to businesses as well? Like it's like if you're going to live to your 110, 120, what does that mean for work? Right? I mean, how do you earn enough money to live to live that long even? Like you you need to make a lot of money, right?
You you stay healthy for a long time so you can work a long time. I love working. I don't want to
I love
retire
working too, so that's why, yeah, no retirement, right? It's just
or
it's
retire.
not even so much working, it's just this is just what you do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I know
I
we
can't.
complain about it all. Oh, it's all this, but I mean, honestly, like we're glutton for punishment. I mean, we love it, right? What else would we
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I no, I actually, I don't actually. The only time I complain is if I have to travel too much. But besides that, and yeah, I'm anxious about going into Phoenix because I'm worried about all these TSA lines. So hopefully it won't be as bad as what they're saying. So I hope not. But I can't wait to see one of your projects. I want to get into one of your projects at one point and actually see all that meticulous detail. I'd love to have you walk me through and tell me the story,
Mm,
because I think that'd be a wonderful experience, quite frankly.
thank you. We actually have an Airbnb in a little
Oh, do you?
tiny Texas town called Weatherford, and
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
it's really cool, and that's kinda why we created it. We wanted to give people the opportunity to sort of experience that narrative, that storytelling that you see through objects and artifacts and paint color and trim and
Okay.
mood and detail and all of that, so because we can't really, invite strangers into our client's house.
No, exactly. So would you say that this represents your story or it's just a
It
story?
does. No, it's both. It's a story. There's some things that we like the kitchen, it's a story. It's a
Okay.
narrative that's very historic and nostalgic to the home. It was built in the early 1900s. It's
Gotcha.
a cottage, and then but every one of the bedrooms was named. All of the bedrooms have a little brass nameplate, and they're named after something from my childhood. And
Cool.
one of the rooms is called Ms. Longstocking from
Okay.
Pippi Longstocking.
Pippi Longstocking. Yeah.
Pippi one day grew up and, we think of this little girl with freckles and red hair, and it's funny, I have my 2 youngest have freckles and red hair, and I was like, "How ironic."
Really?
my name is Ginger, and then I got 2 Gingers, and then Pippi Longstocking was this wild, crazy little girl that I admired because she stood up to all the boys, and she could pick up a horse, and she was uncanny and unusual and
Sure.
defiant for
Wow.
for a girl in her time, and I thought that was and everybody loved her. Everybody loved Pippi.
Of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Created this room, is called Ms. Longstocking, and it's where she would stay if she was a grown-up girl today.
Right.
And it's really fun, and then there's another room called, Mrs. Hosel, and it's based off of a imaginary friend my sister and I created to have a playmate who we could invite to tea parties, and her name was
Nice.
Mrs. Hosel, and she was quite awkward. She had a wool hat with a feather and a button-down coat and pointy shoes, and she was smart and sophisticated and sassy and cheeky, and it's like, I realized this fictional, like, woman we had made
Yeah.
up was kinda who we aspired to be as young
R-
girls.
r-
Yeah,
right.
and
Interesting.
so
Right.
so anyway, the whole house is full of little stories like that.
That's you have quite the imagination. That's
Yeah.
that's awesome. Wow. I'm yeah, thoroughly impressed. I wish I had half that creativity.
Well, I grew up extremely poor, and and there weren't many things in life that were handed to us. And in fact, most days we didn't have 3 square meals or even two. It was one if we were
Right.
lucky. And when you grow up like that, there's the gift of having a life that's really, really tough, and to not have things that you could just take for granted is, wow, we really used our imagination. Everything in my world I built with my little brain,
Right.
my sister, and how deep we could dig a hole and make a fort in the ground, and what forest we could go get lost into, and build, a canopy of trees to make a little covering for shade,
Yeah.
and steal my mom's silverware so we could set up a little kitchen in the forest. And I had the gift of, I got to use my imagination and build,
Yeah.
and that has
You
really formed and influenced my design today, which I think is
clear
cool.
clearly. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, absolutely. Well, and it's interesting, uh not people make assumptions about other people all the time around, oh well, you're doing well, you must have come from money, sort of thing, right? So
Yeah.
there's just those, yeah, the assumptions people make. I was watching this interview yesterday with Brian Johnson. I don't know if you know who he is, but did very, very well for himself, and he's really into longevity. I think he did the blue primal plan or something like that. Very smart guy, clearly. And somebody was sort of it was a bit of a debate, and they made all these assumptions about him. Well, he's like, and he had more of a story closer to yours than what this person was publicly making assumptions about. Well, you come from money, and how can you expect others to be doing that? And it was just sort of like it was really aggressive. Meanwhile, he's sitting there going, "I had nothing. I literally had nothing growing up. I barely had food on my table. I grew up extremely poor." And he goes, "I'm doing this to give back to everybody." So, it's just all these assumptions that people make all day in and day out. It's very, very dangerous. Um, yeah,
And
I don't know.
it is, and I think you're missing a potential really cool story, and I think people look at especially our Instagram, and it's beautiful, it's highly curated. I've spent a lot of time and energy. 65% of the people who call us find us on Instagram, which blows my mind. It's really, really wild, and then referrals, we get a ton of referrals. But,
Yes.
I think I hear that comment. People will look and think that I have this perfect life, and I built this perfect business, and it's so successful, and all the projects.
Don't you have a perfect life, Ginger? Come on.
Oh, absolutely not. And well, that's what's fun. It's fun to kind of pop the bubble on that and say, hold on, like, actually, like, I came from less than nothing, and I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and I was in the 3rd grade 3 times because Ginger Marie Curtis could not learn how to read. And I was the
Right.
least likely person to succeed. And then you throw in growing up in an abusive home and poverty. Right, and so
Yeah.
I share that because I'm proud of what I've learned through those trials, and like you said earlier,
Sure.
grit.
Yeah.
Wow, there is something about grit and having to kind of fight through really difficult times as a kid, and it's built a deep, deep well of
Yeah.
gratitude. I don't expect anything, and when we work hard when we seek success, I'm like, I'm so grateful.
Yeah. So let me, I, I want to ask you this question. What, what do you think, given all of that, because that's a lot, what enabled you to sort of go down that different path, right? Because you're the exception to that rule, I think. You know, most people, my wife's a social worker, she'd say, you see a lot of generational, um, a lot of generational poverty, a lot of generational, call it, abuse, that cycle of abuse in whatever shape and form that takes. So, how do you think you were able to step away from that? I know we probably weren't going to go down this path,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah,
an
that's
interesting. Sorry,
it's
sorry. It's
yeah, I know, I love it. I love just going deep, because it's real. I
yeah,
think it's there's probably it's not attributed probably to one thing. I think there's multiple things. The first thing that comes to mind is my faith. Just standing on a faith that has seen me through the hardest, most difficult times of my life, and things that I didn't even think I was gonna survive, like, that were literally, like, life-threatening, and I've seen that, my kids have faced that as well,
sure.
some pretty crazy stuff, and then I think kind of what I said a minute ago about just gratitude, I have learned to look at life if, like, not if the storms are gonna come,
Yeah,
but when. When are they gonna come, and realizing that I have the power of perspective and to choose, my response and not be reactive to what is happening to me, right? But to
yeah,
choose that I can keep my feet planted on solid ground and choose an attitude of there's always something to be grateful about. And joy
sure.
is not a feeling, joy is an action. Joy is a conscious awareness to do something active. And I am telling you, I've seen a lot of hard days and I know other people have, and I have not flawlessly or immaculately always chose
No, no,
joy, but it is this perspective that I have, and it's what helps me weather the hardest storms. And I mean, I have a bajillion thousand kids, okay? The potential of having things that come up or happen and are, my kid's
right,
heartbreak, his, gets a broken heart, like, oh my gosh,
sure.
or they have a health issue. I mean, it can rain the gamut from
Yep,
the whole pendulum of things, and I choose to not live in fear.
yep,
And being my daughter and I both being cancer survivors, that was one of the things I feel like early on years ago, it coulda just gripped my life. Like every time an
sure.
ache or every time of this or every time I thought, "You know what? Life is so short and beautiful and precious. I don't have time to if fear does not serve me, it's not adding value to my mental capacity, it's not expanding my life. It's doing nothing to serve me. In fact, it's doing all the opposite." And just
It's
calling it and holding it, like, it's recognizing it for what it is and saying, "I say no to that."
yeah, right, right. So it's debilitating. Like fear can be debilitating, and the fact that you've just said to yourself, "I get to choose," and when you that that in your brain ticks over, that I get to choose not to be fearful. I get to choose not to be unhappy. I get to choose. So, they sort of say like that's the biggest thing about happiness in general. It's actually a choice because yeah, bad things happen to everybody, right? I was in Rio when I was 19. I got mugged at knife point, right? My shirt ripped off my back in the middle of the street. And I could have easily died right then and there. I had two knives on me for sure. And it was just sort of like, but, but do you just, so did I stop traveling? No. I mean, these are just insignificant things in my life, but it could have gone the other way. It could have gone the other way. You just never know, right? So, but it's a choice. So I choose to live and you choose to live. I choose to give back. I choose to do this or that. And I think a lot of people don't actually, they disempower themselves by convincing themselves they don't actually have that choice.
100%.
right?
Yeah, the
And
power
your faith, right? Your faith just is the pillars of which you use in your case to stand on, to go, I'm making this choice. I have this grounding and right now, right, exactly. Right. And it is about having that North Star.
Oh, it's huge. It's and so do my kids, like, they've grown up in a home, right, with something that's bigger than themselves and a
Yep.
relationship with God, and that's we talked about this briefly, and it's just being able to have something in your life that directs and points you, and,
Yep.
it's not just all about you, because what a boring and sad life for everything to just only always be about you, right? Like, I don't know.
Absolutely. Unless you're a narcissist, then it is all about you, right? Then they're perfectly
Touche,
happy. That's why narcissists are so happy.
touche.
So yeah, exactly. I worked with a narcissist many years ago,
Well,
and yeah, it's just sort of like there's no win there, no win.
mm-mm. Nope.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And it's funny, like now, like with our kids, our three kids, they're all, they're all doing well. I wouldn't say that they're not geniuses, but they've got grit. They know how to push through the obstacle and they've learned, right? And they're on that path and they just kind of keep going. And that's what it's all about. So,
Well, you've
and
given him a gift.
yeah, we have friends who are like, wow, your kids are all doing so well. And like, well, because we taught them to, whether it's through sports or like you said, faith, it's about the path and you need to be a contributing part of society. Otherwise, why are we here? Like, why are we here? So it's an interesting one. We won't go there today, but yeah, exactly. Well, when I come to Dallas Fort Worth, I'll have a glass of wine with you, and we'll go through that one.
Yeah, there are lots to unpack there, no doubt.
Absolutely. Well, this has been wonderful. I've taken up only a big chunk of your time. I'm so grateful that I actually have met you. And this is I'm just happy. That's probably the only way I can put it. I'm really happy to have met you, and what a wonderful life and a wonderful business that you're building there with you and your husband, your family. So all the credit to you and everything you're doing.
Thank you, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. It's great to be a part of a community with like-minded individuals who rally and support and champion, and it's what makes this fun and makes the lonely days less lonely, right? Because when you're blazing trails, whew,
It's
that's
lonely. There's no doubt about that.
it
Yeah,
is.
it's I totally appreciate that for sure. It's lonely. Yeah. All right.
Well,
Well,
this
you
has
have
been
yourself a great week, great weekend. Um, I'm back on the road again tonight. Next plane tonight. So, but it was wonderful spending some time with you today.
likewise, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you.